Wednesday, March 12th, 2025. Garden thieves got in last night. They stripped citrus trees of fruit in the shoe yard and the Talcott yard. In the process, they trampled what was left of winter gardens and much of the spring planting. Dad says we have to set up a regular watch. He tried to call a neighborhood association meeting for tonight, but it's a work night for some people, including Gary Shue, who sleeps over at his job whenever he has to report in person. We're supposed to get together for a meeting on Saturday. Meanwhile, Dad got Jay Garfield, Wyatt and Kayla Talcott, Alex Montoya, and Edwin Dunn together to patrol the neighborhood in shifts in armed pairs. That meant that except for the Talcotts, who were already a pair, and who are so angry about their garden that I pity any thief who gets in their way, the others have to find partners among the other adults of the neighborhood. Find someone you trust to protect your back, I heard Dad tell the little group. Each pair was to patrol for 2 hours from just before dark to just after dawn. The first patrol, walking through or looking into all the backyards, would get people used to the idea of watchers while they were still awake enough to understand. Make sure they see you if you get first watch, Dad said. The sight of you will remind them that there will be watchers all through the night. We don't want any of them mistaking you for thieves. Sensible. People go to bed soon after dark to save electricity, but between dinner and darkness, they spend time on their porches or in their yards where it isn't so hot. Some listen to their radio on front or back porches. Now and then, people get together to play music, sing, play board games, talk, or get out on the paved part of the street for volleyball, touch football, basketball, or tennis. People used to play baseball, but we just can't afford what that costs in windows. A few people just find a corner and read a book while there's still daylight. It's a good, comfortable, recreational time. What a pity to spoil it with reminders of reality, but it can't be helped. What will you do if you catch a thief? Corey asked my father before he went out. He was on the second shift, and he and Corey were having a rare cup of coffee together in the kitchen while he waited. Coffee was for special occasions. I couldn't miss the good smell of it in my room where I lay awake. I eavesdrop. I don't put drinking glasses to walls or crouch with my ear against doors, but I do often lie awake long after dark when we kids are all supposed to be asleep. The kitchen is across the hall from my room, the dining room is nearby at the end of the hall, and my parents' room is next door. The house is old and well insulated. If there's a shut door between me and the conversation, I can't hear much. But at night, with all or most of the lights out, I can leave my door open a crack, and if other doors are also open, I can hear a lot. I learn a lot. We'll chase him off, I hope, Dad said. We've agreed to that. We'll give him a good scare and let him know there are easier ways to get $1. $1? Yes, indeed. Our thieves didn't steal all that food because they were hungry. They stripped those trees, took everything they could. I know, Corey said. I took some lemons and grapefruits to both the Shues and the Wyatts today and told them they could pick from our trees when they needed more. I took them some seed too. They both had a lot of young plants trampled, but this early in the season, they should be able to repair the damage. Yes, my father paused, but you see my point. People steal that way for money. They're not desperate, just greedy and dangerous. We might not be able to scare them into looking for easier pickings. But what if you can't? Corey asked, almost whispering. Her voice fell so low that I was afraid I would miss something. If you can't, will you shoot them? Yes, he said. Yes, she repeated in that small, same voice. Just yes? She was like Joanne all over again, denial personified. What planet do people like that live on? Yes, my father said. Why? There was a long silence. When my father spoke again, his own voice had gone very soft. Baby, if these people steal enough, they'll force us to spend more than we can afford on food, or go hungry. We live on the edge as it is. You know how hard things are. But couldn't we just call the police? For what? We can't afford their fees, and anyway, they're not interested until after a crime has been committed. Even then, if you call them, they won't show up for hours. Maybe not for 2 or 3 days. I know. What are you saying then? You want the kids to go hungry? You want thieves coming into the house once they've stripped the gardens? But they haven't done that. Of course they have. Mrs. Sims was only their latest victim. She lived alone. We always said she shouldn't do that. You want to trust them not to hurt you or the kids just because there are 7 of us? Baby, we can't live by pretending this is still 20 or 30 years ago. But you could go to jail. She was crying, not sobbing, but speaking with that voice full of tears that she can manage sometimes. No, Dad said. If we have to shoot someone, we're together in it. After we've shot him, we carry him into the nearest house. It's still legal to shoot housebreakers. After that, we do a little damage and get our stories straight. Long, long silence. You could still get in trouble. I'll risk it. Another long silence. Thou shalt not kill, Corey whispered. Nehemiah 4, Dad said. Verse 14. There was nothing more. A few minutes later, I heard Dad leave. I waited until I heard Corey go to her room and shut the door. Then I got up, shut my door, moved my lamp so the light wouldn't show under the door, then turned it on and opened my grandmother's Bible. She had a lot of Bibles, and Dad let me keep this one. Nehemiah chapter 4, verse 14. And I looked and rose up and said unto the nobles, and to the rulers, and to the rest of the people, Be not afraid of them. Remember the Lord, which is great and terrible, and fight for your brethren, your sons and your daughters, your wives and your houses. Interesting. Interesting that Dad had that verse ready and that Corey recognized it. Maybe they've had this conversation before.